Hello there friends, and welcome back to the series where I'm completing an Animal Crossing island in 30 days. Just in case you're new around here, these are the rules we've laid out for this challenge, and with that, it's time to jump right into day 26 on Edelwood. Now today we're going to be picking up pretty much exactly where we left off. Yesterday, for those of you that don't remember, we worked on the transition area up here, kind of going from our normal forest to our more spooky forest. And I do have a rough idea of what I would like to accomplish today. I'm kind of thinking that I'd like this path here to continue and sort of have like a loop part of it where one pathway is going to branch off and kind of go up this way and loop around here. And as it comes down here, it's going to reconnect with just a path that kind of swoops down this way. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to put like in the middle of the loop. I don't know if it'll just be a forest or a lake yet, but we will figure that out as we go. And then where this ladder is, we're going to have an incline. And then the path from there will just sort of loop down, loop around through here, and then lead up to our little cryptid museum tent. So that means we're going to have to lay quite a bit of path. So let's go ahead and get started on that. All right, so you guys are going to see me flip back and forth between my map a lot in this first part of the build. And that's because you know how the Animal Crossing maps have like a grid overlay on them, right? Like our islands are divided up into different like quadrants, so to speak. Well, one of the things I'd really like to have on this island is a little rock garden. And those are a little complicated to pull off efficiently because you can only have up to, I think, 3 rocks in each one of the quadrants. So basically it just requires a little bit extra planning to make sure that you can fit all of your rocks in certain areas. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but basically know that each little quadrant on the island is limited to the amount of rocks it can have. So if you're trying to put all your rocks in one area, you have to split it up amongst those quadrants. I feel like I sound like a nerd, but I've always wanted to do a rock garden, okay? So this is gonna be my first attempt at that. And that's kind of what you're seeing me do here. I'm just sort of using an in-game path to mark where, like, kind of like the outline. So all the rocks will go in those little empty spots here. And I did go back and buy the stone pathway for the in-game path tool, just because I know that, like, flowers and stuff can spawn on top of the dirt paths. So I wanted to make sure that the rocks couldn't spawn on top of it, hence why I switched it to a different kind of pathway. Alright, but once I finished that, I just sort of moved on to kind of playing around with the shape of the pathway that I wanted to have for this area. But there's not much interesting to talk about with pathway, so I'm gonna talk about something completely and totally different. Now, I've mentioned this a few times over the last couple builds that we've worked on for the island, but you guys have been leaving some absolutely amazing suggestions whenever it comes to the builds that we've been working on the island. And as you guys may know, one of the rules for this challenge is I can't go back and change the builds. Once like I've declared them as done and I've showed them off on the channel, like unless I explicitly say that, hey, this one isn't done, I want to go back and add something to it, I just can't add anything to it. And as much as I love that rule for holding me accountable and like not letting me just spend this whole challenge like working on specific areas of the island because they don't meet exactly the image I had in my head, it also means that I haven't been able to go back and implement any of the fantastic ideas and inspiration you guys have given me in certain areas once they've been done. So I've been sort of toying with the idea of maybe like once the series is totally done, so like we've reached the 30th or 31st or whatever day I decide to do the tour and like that's it, we're done. I'm debating maybe doing an episode after the fact where I take some of y'all's feedback and I go back and like give facelifts to kind of certain areas. My only problem with that idea is it kind of feels like it defeats the spirit of the challenge because the island is kind of supposed to be like an immortalization of like, this is what I was able to accomplish in the 30 days. So it kind of feels like I'm breaking the rules to go back in after the fact and change things. And then that also throws into consideration, like, would I update the dream address? Would the dream address be the like new quote unquote modified version of the island? Or would we leave the dream address as the one that was faithfully accomplished in those 30 days? And then if I leave the dream address as just the original version of this island at the end of the 30 days, then really what's the point in going back and changing any of it? Because, spoiler alert, I will not be keeping this island forever. As much as I love this island, and I think I could have turned this into my forever island very well, but the lag because of all of the big items and the wheat fields and stuff that we've used is just so bad that I cannot see myself playing on this island long term. So I don't know. All of that to say is just, you guys, please let me know your thoughts on something like this. I mean, do you think it's like breaking the spirit of the challenge if we go back and modify some things afterwards? Would you guys like to see that enough that we don't really care if it does break the rules because screw it, I made the rules anyways, I can break them if I want kind of thing? I don't know. So please give me your feedback because I'm really kind of struggling with that. Now, I do want to share with you guys a little fun fact about this build we were working on right here, because over the course of today's speed build, we're gonna need a ton of trees for this area, and actually, I ended up going to a treasure island after I stopped the recording for this video and getting some more trees because we just needed that many trees to fill this area in kind of fully and make it feel like a forest. However, I also, after ending the recording for this video, went to go check in with Miss Isabel to check out our island rating, and we ended up with too many trees at the end of this build. Our island rating actually dropped to 4 stars briefly, which like gave me a heart attack, but I just ended up having to go back in and thin out some of these trees. So just to let you guys know, there might be a few differences between the end of the build you see in this one and any subsequent time that we're walking back through this area. And like, yes, that's changing the build after it was quote unquote completed, but one of our other rules is that we need to have a 5-star island by the time we finish this, so I feel like that cancels out, okay? Isabel literally held a gun to my head and said that I have to change it, so take that up with her, not me, okay? But right about now in the build, you guys are seeing we ended up having to go back in and basically clear out this whole middle section of the loop because I did decide I was gonna go ahead and put a little lake in this section. Now we are gonna time travel forward to tomorrow before we end up working on the actual lake, just because like I wanted to have the campsite built in order to see where I needed to change the path before I decide to go all out and build a lake, only for it to be immediately in the way, you know? What's that? Ashley planning ahead for a build? Say it isn't so. I know. A rare occurrence on this channel. Oh my gosh, and I can't believe I haven't said anything about this yet. I have literally an absolutely insane update to share with you guys because as of the time of this recording, I have applied to and been accepted into the YouTube partner program. Like, what? And I know people say things like this all the time, but this literally would have been absolutely impossible without all of you guys supporting the series and interacting with my channel. So thank you so much. I'm not earning anything off of it yet. For those of you that don't know, the first milestone in the creator program is just sort of like it unlocks channel memberships and the ability to accept like super chats and streams and the ability to have a like merch storefront integrated into my YouTube page, like YouTube videos, which I don't feel like I deserve to really have any of that implemented yet. Like, we've reached a ton of subscribers and like maybe a little over like 900 subs is worth, you know, having a merch store and a channel membership, but I don't really feel like I can justify setting any of that up right yet, you know? So if you guys would like to, I mean, let me know if you're interested in seeing anything in like a membership form. But again, I don't really know if I have enough content to really support memberships and like justify to myself asking people to pay, you know, to put content behind a paywall. For now, I think that we're still a ways off from anything like that. I think that that'll be an in due time sort of thing. But nonetheless, I still wanted to like thank you guys because this feels really surreal just to know that like I am so close to being able to like make money off of like ad revenue and stuff. And that's insane. I literally never expected to make any money off of any kind of content I'm posting. So like, even if it's just a few cents that I end up making in the long run, so be it. That's a few more cents I wouldn't have had without you guys. So thank you. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. But kind of springboarding off of the discussion of like channel memberships at some point in the future and all of that, like one of the most fun things about this series is that I've been able to interact with you guys like in the comments and just like on the community posts, and it's been so much fun to just interact with other people that are interested in the same things that I'm interested in. It's lovely. So I wanted to ask, maybe I'll put it in like a poll or something on the community tab too, just in case, but like I'm interested to know what socials you guys use to interact with creators off of YouTube, because like I would love to make like a account or something. See, I was gonna say Twitter, but I really don't want to use Twitter. For my own mental health, I don't know if I can be on Twitter. I've heard a bunch of people mentioning things like Blue Sky and Threads, and I definitely could look into doing something like that if that's what a lot of you guys would like to use or do use frequently. I never really have much of a Twitter presence at all, but yeah, I mean, shameless plug, I do have a couple of socials you guys can check me out on if you want to like keep up with me over there. I don't feel like I'm really that active on any of them, the most active of which would probably be Instagram. I don't post much on there, but I am like around that platform a whole bunch. And then besides that, I do technically have a TikTok, but I don't really know what to use it for, honestly. I could just post some silly, goofy videos every now and then. But I don't know, just let me know your thoughts and if there's a specific social media site you guys would like to see me more active on, because I could certainly try my best to get better at being active on social media. All right, and we've finally made it to the part where we're actually gonna start working on a little pond. See, like I kept calling it a lake. Really calling it a lake is way too overselling it. It's like a glorified puddle. Okay, it's a small pond. But you guys are gonna see I actually do move the Nessie stands from the last video up over here into this pond. Now, I could be willing to go back and change that because I feel like with the little addition by the cave that we added earlier, that might be a little bit too on the nose, you know? That could be too obvious. I could go back and hide the Nessie stands back up there if we want it to be a more subtle thing, but I will definitely go back and change that if we all agree that it looks better being like a subtle little thing up there on the cliff, so let me know. And actually, speaking of the little Nessie edition here, what we're about to go back and add by the cave is literally my freaking favorite part of the whole build. Guys, look at this. Are you ready for it? Little freaking footprints that lead from the pond over back into the cave. That is probably the most genius subtle design feature I have ever accomplished in this game. Like, that's why I'm thinking maybe the stands is too on the nose. I think that the footprints would really be a more like cryptic thing if the stands obviously weren't like right there in the actual pond. But really, after we added those last couple of things in front of the cave, all of the rest that we're gonna do in this area is like filler and codes and fences and whatnot, kind of filling in areas like behind this cliff here. And since the trees are so dense over here, that's not really very fun to watch. So let's go ahead and just skip right to the good part. All right, now here's a little walk around our little pond here and a little overview of all the decorations we ended up putting into this area. One thing I would love to see with this build is how it looks like at night, because I think that would be like optimal spookiness. And then we didn't work on much down here yet, but in tomorrow's episode, I do absolutely plan on coming back and working on the rock garden and hopefully getting the rest of that figured out. I've never done a rock garden before, so I think it's gonna be a headache, but all 6 of our rocks did end up spawning in this little section here between the museum and up here by the campsite. So that at least means we're doing something right. So hopefully we shouldn't end up with any rocks in like really awkward, hard to find places. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am to try to knock out that little part of our build. And that also means by tomorrow, we should be finished with all of the main land areas on our island. Now we still have to go back and finish the secret beach and the rest of the beaches, but really, all of the outdoor decorating on the mainland should be done by tomorrow. But as always, if you've made it to this point in today's video, thank you very much, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz on your way out, and I'm gonna catch you guys in tomorrow's episode. Bye!